right, so one of the things I noticed, oh, by the way, this is hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. Hello, that is me. If you want to go to my Patreon, it's patreon.com/randomly Ronnie Jr. Now listen, really quickly, we won't spend a lot of your time. One of the things I've been noticing, and this is what I always try to do, is if I am doing the work in terms of content creation and mixing that with all of my other freelance jobs or whatnot, I always try to do like a little bit of research. And one topic that always came up, and it might have been based on some of the things I always talk about, which you know that I always talk about, Team Melissa Gorga. Now that was like early on last season. That was when at the beginning of the season, everyone's like, oh, she'll never make it to another season. And you know, who knows if anyone will make it to another season. It's just a TV show, you know. But nonetheless, you know that I love Melissa Gorga so much, so sometimes I have to wonder, by liking and absorbing a lot of the Melissa Gorga content, which is so fantastic, it's like maybe I start receiving other little stories on Real Housewives of New Jersey, and so some of the things that I had seen, I just kind of wanted to say, I totally have an opinion. And that is, well, first of all, there's a couple things. There's a lot of like, well, who's coming back and, you know, in what capacity, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, that really, it's a show to entertain us and it's really none of our business. I know a lot of people want to take to the Twitter or threads or blogs or content creators want to put it on their shows or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is until the ink is signed and the ink dries, you really don't know what Bravo or Andy Cohen, what do they all have in mind for another season? You know, you never know if some of the tense stuff that went on last season and even the further tense stuff, like if, you know, do people get in, the executives, do they get in this space where they have a meeting and they start to break it down where like, we didn't love it, but the ratings were through the roof. Like, I don't know how that particularly works. I've of course worked in radio and television for a lot of years too, but in terms of this show is different. All I wanted to simply come on and say is, because I was kind of seeing a lot of other, you know, shows or whatever, because I try to watch them all, I try to support them all as a fan, but some of the ones I don't necessarily always agree on, which is totally fine. I have no like huge opposition to that. I just am like, oh, a lot of people are thinking it's not going to work in terms of them meaning the Teresa side or the Melissa side, if they don't necessarily interact, because there's been a lot of talks, you know, I guess talks can be cheap too, talk is cheap, but there's been a lot of talks that like if they're coming back, both of them, that they won't interact, and that will be, you know, what will that look like? And I personally think it won't look bad at all. And I've said this before, if you search through my channel, I've said like, let them both rock, let them both win, give one a spinoff, give them both a spinoff, you know, maybe fight it out, you know, spinoff versus spinoff, and see who really is the queen of the show. Obviously it's Melissa, but my point is just have the confidence that whoever is your queen for Real Housewives of New Jersey, you know, I particularly have not been amused by the other gal, you know, since season 1. You know, when she nudged the table, there was no intrigue, and she didn't even flip the table. She nudged the table, so we should word it as such. And I've already told you what I think about her going up against Danielle, who Danielle typically is not the most physical threat. You know, nonetheless, it just wasn't for me. Nothing wrong with that. I like Melissa. You know, I like the pretty girls. But my point is one simple thing, and this is just what I think. You can totally feel differently. I think, and I'm trying to think where I get this from. Well, let me say what I think first. I think they could both get that check, coexist. And even though I like Melissa's side of it so much better, she feels very connected to me. I feel like I would get along with her really well. I know that there's just 100 different reasons. If you watch my shows on this channel, I'm always talking about Melissa. So please go visit and see all the you know, the content that I've said about how great she is. But I believe if you get a certain level of confidence, it's no longer a threatening situation. It's no longer like, you know, you even think of the other person. Because to be honest, as much as I like Melissa, I just want to see her win. I'm almost like the other gal could be on the show too. Like it doesn't even phase you really. You know what I mean? If you have that confidence with who you like to see on the TV. And I think I try, easier said than done, but I try to operate like that with myself also. I try to just worry about myself. You know what I mean? It's hard because, you know, certain things do get competitive, and sometimes the network or the show that you're on only has room for so much. So I could see that side of it. But I'm just leaving it at this, that I think both of them could coexist. There's a lot of cast members. They can bring on a bunch of new cast members, break down new storylines. You got Rachel and Danielle, who are brand new. Jennifer's a little bit like, old news at the moment, but you got other people who could contribute. Dolores, her blended family, or not blended family yet, but her new emerging family, and Polly, and, is there a next level to that? I mean, there's just a lot you could really do, and you could have Melissa over here, and you could have Teresa over here, and everything be great, and still showcase their wonderful lives. Whether the filming, goes on in the summer times and it's hot. Clearly, it's hot right now. I'm like sweating. A hot NYC humid night at this moment. But I think you can do it all. So like I said, there's actually a little bit of love that I am trying to give in this moment, because I want to be like, sort of I just want to showcase that while, again, this other side is not who excites me on the TV, like Melissa and Joe and their whole thing, Donna Marco, the sisters, like the whole thing. I'm all about Melissa and that side of the family. But I think, like, you also don't want to see anyone lose a check. And for what it is, Teresa has given a lot. You know what I mean? It might have been some of the stuff that just kind of came to her life in terms of her ex-husband and stuff like that. And some of the, going away in those situations. But, she's got 4 kids. I don't want to see her off the show. And I just think we need to stop doing that, Now, I don't want to keep on going with this episode because it's going to turn into like a high and mighty. Like, no, we all have opinions. This show is drawn up. This is why the ratings are good, to make you get mad and whatever and have a feeling. But I think in this slow time where the show is not on the air and there's all these opinions that are jumping up on Twitter and everyone feels like they're a verified source, let's take a beat, let's relax, and let's let all of the ladies of Real Housewives of New Jersey have a time to shine. Now, it's not my fault that Melissa Gorga is the icon and everyone else is just trying to play catch up. That's not my fault. She just thrives. I'm kidding. It is a hot New York City night. I need to go get some water and an air conditioner and call it. But I definitely wanted to say, let's spice it up. Let's sizzle things up. Shout out to Team Gorga. And we'll see what happens on the next season of Real Housewives of New Jersey, because again, no one really knows. Andy and his team, they all know. But for right now, we gotta take a beat and let them all win. Why not? They should all win. You know why? Because I've dabbled in a couple reality programs, both on the production side and on. And I remember, Mundos, TLC Network, American Latino TV, Fuse TV. I know what it's like when you put yourself out there, and sometimes within the story arcs that are already pre-put together and the edits and, some of the things that are angled, you necessarily sometimes can't control a lot of things. And you got to give these women, even the ones you don't like, you've got to give them a little credit for stepping up there and doing what they got to do. Okay, it's too sweaty, so I got to go until the next one. Hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. Before I sign out, though, here is a quick word.
Well, hello there. Thank you for watching and supporting the show with my good friend, Randomly Ronnie Jr. Who the hell am I? Great question. My name is Mark Rodriguez with Mastermind Media, and I wanted to take just a moment of your time to let you know about all the other incredible things this guy, Randomly Ronnie Jr. has going on. But first, before we get into that, please comment, like, and subscribe. That is how he grows here on these channels. But one channel you probably don't know about is patreon.com/randomly Ronnie Jr., where he's got a bunch more exclusive content. So please check that out. But speaking of YouTube, let's go back to YouTube for a second. He's got this hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. and it shows all of his stuff in his days in radio from back in the day, all the way up to present day, and his new interviews, podcasts, just videos across the board. So please check that out, because when you think about content creators, there's millions of content creators, but there's only one, Randomly Ronnie Jr. Let's get back into the show.
Okay. So like Gloria Estefan, thank you, Mark, first of all. And like Gloria Estefan used to say, the rhythm is going to get you, but today I'm going to say the humidity is going to get you. So I got to go do what he said. Patreon, support me, Team Gorga, Melissa. She's an icon. Let's go.
Ronnie Jr.